Hello, good morning. Dear student, as I am presenting in this English language video series, regarding which today I have selected a topic about which I have to talk, that is have to and has to. First of all, grammatically we have to know about that which category these two words belong to. So have to is a semi-auxiliary, whereas has to is a third person singular form of a verb. As far as their pronunciation in a short contraction form is concerned, so we have experienced and learned and also familiar that we most of the time dealing with the two types of English language. One is called British English language and the second one is called American English language. In British English language, most of the people do not neither familiar about the contraction nor they are use it both in speaking and writing. But in American English, most of the people, even both in writing and speaking, they use many contractions. Because, as a simple example, let me just say that in American English, have to is pronounced as have to, whereas has to is pronounced as has to. So because contraction are mostly used in American English language. So as far as their uses are concerned, both are used to talk about obligations and necessities. It means that whenever we have to do something in a short time, uh, maybe for a long time, but just after few minutes, few seconds, we can say, because whenever we have to decide something and we have to do that thing, so even at that moment, someone may ask a question that where do you wanna go? So we can just reply that I have to go to city. I have to write a letter. So she has to sing a song. Just after few seconds we have to do something. So in this case we mostly prefer to use have to or has to. But as far as their uses are concerned, we can combinedly can say that has to and have to both can be used in case of obligation and necessities. Now there are, as far as their structures are concerned, regarding the uses of has to and have to in positive, negative and question sentences, what should be the structure? So one by one, first of all, in affirmative sentences we can also call them a positive sentences. So what should be the structure and order of the words while using has to and have to? So I'll explain all of them one by one. So first I'm going to talk about the affirmative sentences, because we have seven pronouns, including name. We can, in singular name we can also see we have eight pronouns. So we I have already categorized these eight pronoun as I, we, you, they in the one category and he, she, it singular name in the second category. So as as a structure is concerned, in affirmative sentences, whenever we have to talk about I, we, you and they, so after all these pronoun we must use have to. Then after to we already know that always base form is used. Then at the end we use object. As an example, we can say some sentences. For example, they have to wash the car. You have to wait for 3 hours. I have to submit my admission form. So, while using he, she, it, and singular name, because at that case we cannot use have to. So instead of have to, we have to use has to. So the structure will be a little bit different from the I, we, you, they pronoun. So, in the case of he, she, it, and singular name, the structure will be plus has to plus base form of verb plus object. So, as an example, I can use some sentences. She has to solve the problem. Naseem has to attend the meeting. It has to rain. This was the structure of affirmative sentences. Now I'm going to talk about some negative sentences while using has to and have to. So the structure with I, we, you, they should be like this: I, we, you, they plus don't plus have to plus base form of verb plus object. Because we already know that with I, we, you, and they, we must use do not. Whereas with he, she, it, and name, we must use does not. So in both case, do not or does not, we must use have to. Because in this case, in negative sentences, even with he, she, it, name, we cannot use has to in the negative while using don't in the negative sentences. So the structure of both with he, she, and it, name, and I, we, you, they, the negative sentences structure should be like this: I, we, you, they plus don't. We also call them do not, but in American we mostly prefer to say don't, plus have to plus base form of verb plus object. As an example, I can repeat some sentences. We don't have to worry about our future. I don't have to deliver lecture. Whereas with he, she, it, and singular name, the structure will be plus does not plus have to plus base form of object base form of verb. At the end we must say object. So sometimes object may be available, maybe not, but we have to in the structure it should be used. As an example, I can repeat some sentences. So the sentences should be like this: she does not have to sing a song. He does not have to marry an English girl. So as an ESL, here one question arises that most of the time we prefer to use has to with she, he, it, and singular name. But here, since we know that have to and have to is a word after which it is not possible to use sorry, with after does not. After does not we have already used does not, so there is no possibility to use again has to. So same in the case in the negative sentences, we should not prefer to use has to after she, he, it, and singular name, because there is does not already present. So whenever there is already a negative words does not, even with he, she, and it, so we must prefer to use have to. Does not have to, because we cannot prefer to use has to after does not with he, she, it, and singular name even. So now I'm going to talk about some question sentences. First I'll talk about the structure of the question sentence, then I'll make some sentences. So as we already know that while making the question sentences, so the do will become in the first, do and does both will come in the beginning of the sentence. So we already know that do is used with I, we, and you, they. So it will be, the structure will be do plus then a single pronoun from any one of four. So plus have to plus base form of verb plus object, and at the end a question mark is must, because this is a question sentence. So this was the structure of the question sentence. So as an example, I can repeat some sentences. Do you have to apply for admission in Canadian University? Question mark should be there at the end. Do they have to play cricket with an Indian team? So with he, she, and it name, what should be the structure? First it should be does plus he, then she, then it, any one of them. So we cannot use all of them, we must use only one from all of them. So he, she, it, and singular name, then plus have to plus base form of verb plus object, but at the end a question mark should be there. Same like case in the question sentences as well as it was in the negative. In the negative, when there was do not or does not, so we must prefer to use have to. Same is here, when there is do or does in the beginning of the sentences, so we must prefer to use have to in both the case, whatever the pronoun is. The pronoun is I, we, you, they, or he, she, it, name. But if the sentence is a question, so we must prefer to use have to in both cases. So as an example, I can say in the while using he, she, it, and name, so the first sentence should be like this: does she have to sing a song in a theater? Does he have to attend marriage ceremony? So this was something about the uses of have to and has to, what they are, what are their uses, and which case we have to use them, and in even I can say that in which situation we have to prefer to use have to and has to, their pronunciation hapta and hasta, because in American English it is mostly preferred to use contraction. And the thirdly, I can say as a summary, I can say that I used the affirmative structure with some examples, and negative structure of have to and has to with some example, even question sentences while using has to and have to with some example. So this was the a little bit summary about the whole topic while using and understanding have to and has to. So I hope the listener might have familiar with the uses of have to and has to. Thank you so much for watching this video.